Hi everyone and welcome back to the Diamond Moment. I'm your host Luciana Cordero and today I'm here with Andres. Hi Andres, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I wanted to start off by asking you about your journey as a fighter. So, what inspired you to get into MMA?
Well, MMA wasn't always my first option. I had always done boxing and I always wanted to become a boxer. But all the times that I have tried to pursue boxing, like, something personal has always came up, or I just had to focus on school and then work. And so I never really had time to do boxing. I practiced boxing with my cousins, and then I went to a another place here in Dade City. But like I said, I just never really had the time to put all my focus into it. So when I heard that my cousin and one of my friends were doing MMA, I was interested and wanted to see what was up with it. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing MMA for already a couple months now, and it's been amazing. I've learned so much, and I've learned a lot of techniques that are different from boxing. But even then, I still use my boxing into my MMA. And yeah, it's been like really good.
And have you competed before or is this going to be your first fight?
No, this is going to be my first fight. Like I said, with boxing, I really wanted to do boxing, like boxing matches and everything, because I feel more used to boxing. But I'm very excited that with all the practice that I have done and everything that my coach has taught me, I'm pretty confident in going into my fight and using everything that he's taught me plus my boxing and using it for my fight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we started one step at a time, and I think that background is in boxing is going to help you a lot. So how has your fighting style? Like you already mentioned that you started with boxing, and now you've gone into MMA. So how has your fighting style evolved since since you began training? I guess you could say in MMA.
Well, it's very difficult because MMA and boxing, they are a fighting type of style, but obviously MMA is more, you use more of your whole body, and with like boxing you use mostly like your arms and like try to move around more. And so it was very difficult trying to get out of boxing, because boxing, like I said, it's just mostly using your hands and like ducking and like moving around more, which like in MMA you use your legs, throw kicks, you can do anything. And so me practicing, it really took a while to learn my style in fighting and how I wanted to fight, just because I was never used to, anytime like I would do like go under and roll, like somebody can just throw a kick in my face, and then like it catches me off guard. So it was very hard, but I feel like now that these past couple months that I have been training and putting a lot of work that I can be putting into this fight, I feel like I have gotten better with that. I still am using boxing technique with the MMA, but I'm not using it to the point where it's just that's the only thing that I use. I use a lot of MMA, and I use a lot of blocking techniques from the MMA mixed with my boxing, so it helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. And what would you say is like the trickiest part? I you kind of touch up on it a little bit, but like what would you say is the trickiest part about the MMA? Is it like the kicks or just like learning how to like defend yourself or avoid your opponent? I don't know.
I,
What would you say is the hardest part?
I would say that everything is the hardest, because you're going into something very new. With boxing, it's like I said, everything's a different type of style, and then depending on how you get trained, obviously everybody has their own style, and then whenever you're getting trained to do that style, you want to be just like them or how they teach you. So obviously it's very hard to transition from like boxing to MMA, because whenever I had first started, like I would roll under any other punches and then would get kicked in like my face and everything, and it'd be hard to remember that anytime that I would roll under a punch, like they can just throw a kick. So it was mostly trying to get out of the habit of boxing and then transition into MMA, because it's just, you don't want to get punched at the same time, but then at like you go down and then somebody throws a kick and you're caught off guard. So it's mostly just defending myself that I got really like what was my problem. And it just sucked a lot because I felt like I wasn't making enough progress from getting out of my boxing to switching to MMA. So it was hard for me.
Yeah, and I mean, you just said it. It was pretty hard going through this change. So, what would you say motivated you to keep pushing and get to the point where you are now?
Well, I feel like the reason why I kept pushing is because of everybody that I have in my life. Everybody that's ever been in my life always tells me, to keep pushing and to give more than your 100%. Like my coach, my father, and like my friend as well, who went to the Marines. He always told me that I gotta keep pushing. And all those three people will always tell me like to keep pushing. And every day I just hear them telling me to just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And that's what motivates me a lot because I know that, I can give more than what I'm actually doing right now. So I always try to put more than I give.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's actually great advice too. Um, I was gonna ask you as well. Do you have any like mentor figures or people that you look up to in well when it comes to MMA and like in your fighter journey?
Yeah, I would say I do. Mostly because of the fact that um sorry, crap.
It's okay. You can take your time and we'll edit it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do you have any mentors in your journey as a fighter?
Yes, I do. Like I said, my father is one of the biggest people that I would say is a mentor. Anything that I struggle through or anything that I go through, my father's always there helping me. And he's the reason why I've changed my mentality a lot because he always tells me to be better than who he is right now. And I always try to be like him, but he wants me to be better than him. And so I always put myself and I always push myself through any situation so that way I can give more than what I can actually give. Because without those words or without knowing that I can push myself or always telling myself that I can always give more and to keep pushing myself to work harder for everything that I want, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and I mean, your journey competing is just getting started, but if you can look back into your training and everything you've done to get to the point where you are now, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
As in like fighting style or like in general?
I would say something that fighting has taught you that you can apply to different aspects of your life.
Well, I would say that it's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of, really paying attention and really learning what is needed to be taught because you don't learn something just by seeing somebody else do it. It's all a process. So the more that you go through that process and the more that you go through it with all its difficulties and all its easiness, then you're eventually gonna learn that you know you can use this. So I would say I learned a bunch of discipline. I learned respect, and then I learned to just be humble. It's always good to be humble because, like I always tell everybody else, I was like, you can be better than somebody else, but there's always people that are going to be better than you. So always be humble and know that you're at your place, which is always good, but you want to improve yourself to be higher than most people.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. That's really good. It's a great mentality to have. That's something that we've heard a lot, like a recurring comment in this podcast is to stay humble, which is so important because you've trained so much. You have a whole um, journey behind you and a whole journey that waits for you. But the person that's standing right in front of you when you're up there fighting has done probably the same training as you have, or like has worked just as hard to be there, and that's something that you have to take into account when you're facing someone like right then and there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the Battle of Tampa Bay that's coming right up. This is your first time competing. How are you feeling?
Um, I feel pretty good. I want to come in there and give it my all. I know that with the right mentality and then the good amount of training that I've been putting in and that my coach has been teaching me, I feel like I can put my best into this fight.
Yeah, so I know you've been training for this fight, but can you tell us a little bit about what has it been like in terms of like the training process, the training camp, any different things that you've had to learn for this fight specifically?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of different techniques. You have to apply a lot of what you learned into your actual fight. Um, and I feel like a lot of the things that we've been training in camp is to always like put pressure on our opponent. We gotta have good techniques. I learned a bunch of good techniques, as in footwork, and then different types of combos. I've learned pressuring my opponent. And then the sparring that we do teaches me like that other people have a different type of style. So you got to read what they do in order to figure out, you know, how you're gonna attack or how you're gonna defend, because you can't just go in, guns blazing and just throwing punches and kicks. And next thing you know, you throw one wrong punch or you move wrong, and you get hit immediately or kicked wrong, and then you're hurt. So it's all about really like keeping a good pace, but also being cautious of what you do, because any wrong move is like that's on you.
Yeah, definitely. And what are your expectations for the Battle of Tampa Bay?
Well, my expectations are pretty high. I'm hoping that everything with even my teammates, everything goes good. I'm hoping that we all put our maximum effort in for this fight. I'm hoping that you know what we learned throughout these couple months, like we all apply them, and we go out there and we give it our very best, because all the people that I've been working with, all my teammates and everything, and even myself, we've been working hard because we know how important that this fight is to us, because most of us, this is our first fight, or like one of my other teammates, this is going to be his second fight. So for me, it's very nerve-wracking, but I have high hopes for myself and for the Battle of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited to see how everything goes. And that's why I also wanted to ask you, what expectations do you think we should have as the audience? Like, what can we expect from the fight?
It's very hard to say. I can't just say like, I'm hoping this outcome or this outcome, because it all happens. Whatever outcome happens is whatever. It's always just to stay humble in between the wins and losses, and to know that next time, to train harder, and then just to really keep that mindset, that just to keep going and never quit, because you can always be better.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with your background in boxing and with your perseverance in this discipline to keep pushing, we definitely can expect a show. It's going to be a pretty fun fight to watch, probably. And
Yeah.
I wish you the best. It's going to be
Thank you.
great. I can't wait to see it. And well, this is my final question for the interview that I make to all the fighters, and it's, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to get into martial arts?
I would say just go at it. I mean, it's never like, just take the chance. It's always good to have some type of like fighting background, or like know some type of like MMA or boxing, because you always want to use it later on. You never know when you can use it, or when it needs to be applied in like different situations, not only for boxing. Or like if you want to pursue something of boxing, like go for it. It's always really fun, and then the training is always really fun to do. You never know the outcome, and you always surprise yourself with things that you've learned and all the things that you've done.
Yeah, definitely. This sports teach you so many values, and I mean, it's a crazy world we live in. You never know when you need to know self defense, but
Yeah.
also it's a great sport and you meet great people. And yeah, I think it could be a great opportunity for a lot of people. What do you think?
No, yeah, it would be good for a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to try to get into it but are like nervous. But I would say as somebody who's always like nervous about doing things and like is always scared to try new things, just to go after it. I mean, you never know how you're gonna like it up until you try it. Our dojo is called Academy of Extreme Ground Fighting and MMA.
Great. Well, that was all for today. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you, Andres, for coming here. And it was great talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.